Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Well, and you?
Hey, Mike. Good. Very
Excellent.
good.
Excellent.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can hear you
You sound
fine.
great. Yeah.
Excellent. Nice to meet you guys. Well, I think
Okay.
I've met you before, Kenny. Now that I see you, I definitely have. But nice
Well,
to
I
meet
can't
you.
see your
Phil.
pretty face, so I got
hold
nothing
on.
to go on here. And I got a memory like a sieve.
There you go. Is it?
I'm
Is it?
sure. I told you that. I'm sure I'd met you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when Bert was saying your name, I'm thinking, I think I know this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
This
we
was like ages ago. So I
Well,
went on and I saw.
Yeah.
I'm positive I met him probably in Toronto at a show, or
yeah.
he's in the office doing something.
Maybe
whatever,
one of
right?
those famous London drugs things in Mississauga.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
You know? Yeah.
For sure. For sure. But anyways, nice to see you guys.
You too.
And thanks for having me.
Too. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
we're
you for
excited.
coming on.
Yeah,
Like,
thanks
that
for
was
coming on.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where are you guys located?
Kenny's in
He's-
Vancouver,
Yeah.
and I'm in Mississauga, so
Oh,
Toronto.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
where
hang
are
in
you?
East
Are
Van.
you Toronto as well?
I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, it's nice to have an East Coaster.
You're not down
get
you
out-
don't have
I-
to hang in Windsor. But you don't have to be down
No,
there.
our corporate head office is in downtown Toronto. I spend some time in Windsor for sure. I'm there at least monthly.
Mhm.
But yeah, we have a lot of team members, and two of our manufacturing facilities and our distribution center are in Windsor.
I've been through the facility. That's why I know
Yeah.
where it is.
Yeah.
I remember sitting
Windsor.
going there, and then I think we stayed at a hotel by the casino.
Yep.
And then you look across, and the three towers, I guess, to the GM towers.
Yeah.
There was this really lovely walkway. So we were
Yeah.
I think we were with Vic Hatfield at the time, and said, "Oh, maybe me, Mario, or John Cena, maybe we'll go for a walk, in the evening." Goes, "Oh, no, 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 no." He goes, "No, there's no walking on that side of the river past just as it's getting to dusk. No more walking."
Yeah. No walking.
But it looked really nice. Apparently, it's not that nice when you get there, I guess. But
Yeah, I stick on the Windsor side. I always bring I like to road cycle, so I bring my bike. I do morning rides along the water there. It's
There you go.
gorgeous.
Ah,
it's really nice in it. That area
That's
seems
cool.
Beautiful.
quite nice. I know.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I
Yeah.
mean, they've had their hardships with the car industry for sure, but
Yeah, they're doing well though. They're converting a lot to EVs there, right? I mean, they just announced 2,500 new jobs this week, $5 billion investment. I think in Canada's largest EV battery facility.
I read that
so
too.
it's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Windsor's
big deal.
Windsor's doing much better. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah.
That's great. That's good for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll start moving
How do
everybody
you
off.
how do you make that trek? Like, do you drive down, or do you? It's a
a
goodly
hike, eh?
investment. Like 5 hours is once a month is.
I'm about 3.5 to 4 hours from my house. I don't
Okay.
go during rush hour.
Okay.
I will drive it other than between the months of November and March. I
Right.
will take
Yeah,
a
you
train
got that-
or a plane.
The 401
but,
is pretty terrible. That stretch is scary,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah, the
Yeah.
weather can get quite bad. So in the winter months, I usually train it. If I have to get in and out quick, I'll take a quick flight. But I do like
how
to
far
drive.
is the train? How long is the train?
It's about the same. It's about
That's what you
3.5
mean. But
to
like,
4
see,
hours.
that's the problem with the airport, though. Like an hour, an
Yeah.
hour and 15
Oh,
on
yeah.
the front side, an hour and 15 on the
Yeah.
back side. Even if you're an hour in the air, by the time you do all the hours, you're thinking, could
The
have been on
train's
the
more
train.
the train's more civil.
Absolutely. You can
yeah.
actually do a little work.
Yeah,
or,
there's
or
some decent, half decent
whatever.
Wi-Fi, or you can
You know.
tether yourself, and
Exactly.
it's all right.
yeah,
It's all
I
right.
don't. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely better ways to travel if you can do
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So thanks
What are
for
the
coming
order
on.
of operations here today?
This is
we'll
it.
do this is it. We'll do a quick intro, and then have you kind of talk about yourself a little bit. We'd love to learn about your journey and
Sure.
getting to where you are. Kind of with the position you have and the company you look after. No trade secrets, please.
Nope.
We can't afford to get sued. We really don't have that kind of dough. Well, Kenny might, but I don't. But
I sure the hell don't. So
um,
just think before you speak. Don't get us in trouble.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
I have a feeling that nice lady we were on with last time she's got some muscle. I feel like she could.
I feel like she's got shark-like tendencies, and I thought I don't want to get on the wrong side of her.
But to be clear, she was very, very nice.
Very
in
nice.
case she listens
Oh,
to this too.
Very
so.
nice. But you
Yeah.
can tell that we'd be in huge trouble.
So we've got Mike Pilato on. He's the president and CEO of Jamieson Wellness. We are super excited to have you on. I think this we talk about CPG and we love the industry and we always want to hear great success stories. So we're excited for you to be with us. So thanks for coming on.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, and like every other episode, we don't rehearse. We actually, it was funny because Kenny and I had a giggle when your assistant sent over a note and said, Mike wants to talk to you and prep, and Kenny and I, kind of cackled, right? Because we don't really prep, right? So, so for the audience, when we got on the call with Mike, Mike and I think she was a PR communications lady was on, right? And kind of had lots of questions and we actually had to do some convincing for her. I think we said, listen, like you should listen to a couple. We really don't.
Episodes, man.
We don't prep. Like it's just our thing, right? So, but yeah. No, so we're excited to have you. We'd love if you kind of told us a little bit about
you specifically, how you've done, how
yeah.
you've done it,
Sure.
where you've been, what you're doing.
yeah.
Sure.
And then whatever you want to share. I know
Yeah.
there's some stuff we've talked about, maybe going down some cool environmental paths or
Yeah.
wherever we want to go.
Yeah, happy to go wherever you want to go. And I'm
Mhm.
glad to hear that you guys love the CPG industry. I love it as well. I've spent almost 23, 24 years in the industry now. And I have the great honor and privilege of leading Jamieson Wellness, a great 100-year-old Canadian success story that I'm sure most of your listeners have heard of. We're in over 40% of Canadian households. And it is quite an astonishing brand, quite a powerful brand, and quite a powerful story. So I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about my story. But what you'll find about me through the discussion is, like, I love CPG. I think CPG is just a wonderful industry. I stumbled across it coming out of university, and I'm very thankful every day that I stumbled across this great industry and got to spend, going on 23 years now in it, and worked at some fantastic places and met just so many amazing people on my journey that have impacted me and allowed me to get to the position that I'm in today, leading this company. So very fortunate from that perspective, but lots of great things in the CPG industry, and just surrounded at the end of the day by great people. You guys know the industry. It's just
That's why the industry's a blast. People are awesome on the retail, the supply side. Like it's just, nobody understands it, because when you tell people CPG, first they don't know what the hell you're talking about unless they know the acronym. And when you tell them, they think, oh, so you're a sales guy. You're thinking, oh, you work in retail. Not that either.
No,
it's
not that
sort
either.
of all
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
Oh, you make coupons. I hear that one a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
that's what we do.
I haven't heard that one, but okay, sure. I guess we do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's you're right. I mean, it's great people. It's great fun.
It's awesome.
And I'll tell you what I love about it the most. I say this often, and I'm sure you guys have felt this. There's something really tangible and really special about working on something, whether it be a new product or a new label or a new commercial or a new promotion or something.
New retailer, anything.
A new retailer,
yeah.
a new channel, and you work on it in the office, and then you walk into a store or you walk into someone's home, and what you worked on is there. It's being sold, it's being used, people are interacting with it, and that tangibility of that just is, it's something that's it's almost addictive. It's almost like an addiction that you just want to keep driving more and impacting more and more consumers and more customers, because you want to see what you've done in action. And it's a phenomenon that you can't really wrap your head around unless you've been there.
I don't think
but that's what I love about
you've done it.
That's what I love about it.
So what did you do? So you went to university in Ontario?
Yeah.
And then where did you go?
All right. So I went to Brock University in St. Catharines, small school. I'm an accountant by trade. I took a bachelor of accounting.
One of those. Jeez, we each married one of those.
There's a CPA in his household. There's a CPA in my household.
There you go.
We've been through all of it.
CMA.
Yeah, we've been through all the youth
we
fees
got
and we got all the scar tissues that come with support staff.
There you go. I like I said, I went and got my CPA CMA, and I kind of stumbled into consumer goods. Back in those days in the late 90s, you wanted a job, you opened up the newspaper and you said, who's hiring? And I was living in a small town in Ontario, opened the Globe and Mail or the Toronto Star at the time, and a company called Playtex Products was looking for a financial analyst, and I wanted to move to the city.
Yeah.
So I applied, got the job, moved to the city, and that's how I got into consumer goods and really haven't left since.
That's awesome. So you went to Playtex. That was your first gig sort of after university.
That was
but
my
in
first
finance.
gig.
Like in the finance part.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I was a financial analyst for them, and I did that for a couple of years, learned a ton. It was a smaller company here in Canada.
Yeah.
And from there, I decided I wanted something bigger, and I moved over to Kraft Foods. I went from something small to something huge.
Something huge.
In finance. And I tell this story often. I'm working away as a financial analyst, and two individuals that I still speak with today. He's retired now. His name's Dan D'Alessandro. He was a VP of marketing there. I'm not sure if you guys know him. And Nancy Peterson was a director of marketing. She's gone on to be the founder of homestars.com. I don't know if you know Homestars, where you review renovators and look up if you're going to,
that's awesome.
Contractors and stuff. So I'm working on their team as a financial analyst. They're marketing leaders, and they pulled me in the office one day and say, "Hey, we want to talk to you." And sure, what's up? And they said, "Have you ever thought about getting into marketing?" And I said, "Well, not really, but why do you ask?" And they said, "You're great in finance, like you're fantastic talent in finance. We just think you have so much more to offer. And in the world of CPG, marketing kind of leads the strategy, leads the consumer work. It's at the core of what consumer goods is. Why don't you give it a thought and move over to marketing?" And that really started my kind of journey into cross-functional roles, where I went from finance to marketing to sales. And then I showed up at Clorox in.
This was all with Kraft, though, right? So Kraft, you did all three.
Kraft, I did finance and marketing.
Marketing.
Moved to a supplement startup called Wellnex and moved over to sales for a while. Led their sales team.
Wow.
And then decided to go back into corporate, like more of a larger multinational. Went back to Clorox, back into finance. Moved through kind of marketing, general management type, brand management side there. And then I led their sales team, moved back into sales, and from there became the president of Clorox Canada prior to moving over to Jamieson. So,
wow,
a really, really cross-functional experience through two cycles, and really just got to learn so much, and just very privileged to be able to do all that.
Like at companies that, because there are companies that are known, for better sales skills or better analytics skills, better Catman skills, but like at Playtex, you cut your teeth on Fem High, which is, like you can sell Fem High, you can pretty much
banana
sell
boat.
anything, right?
If you
like
can banana boat at Playtex, man, you can do lots
you
of
can
shit.
sell anything, right? And then you go to Kraft, that's like just amazing at everything, and then Clorox, right? Like you were there. Like during some really big years, like when Clorox made some huge strides,
and some acquisitions into other fields, other channels. In essence.
I was there almost 11 years, and one of the reasons I ended up at Jamieson was I got to play in some of those acquisitions. I got to be at that table when they expanded into health and wellness, right? I mean, it started in 2007 with Burt's Bees, and I got to lead that business here in Canada for a while, and it was
so cool.
That's
phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and then they bought some vitamin mineral supplement brands that I've got to lead and work with. And I just kind of I've worked in so many categories. I just really kind of started gravitating to this health and wellness side of things. It's just a really cool category because everything you do, you're helping people. And everything you do has a positive impact on people. So when you take the love of CPG and the tangibility of it and everything it brings, and you tie it to doing good, it creates a passion around the business and on the team. It's just a different level. And that's why that's one of the reasons I came to Jamieson. I got to step into health and wellness full time.
Yeah, you're definitely in it now, man.
Oh yeah.
You don't do much else in that business except health and wellness.
No.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It's exciting.
What's funny, because I know a lot of CEOs and people have taken over companies, et cetera, but most are, and this is truly, for the most part, most were either sales, worked up into that position, were marketing, not as many, worked up, a lot of finance guys, but not many who've actually dabbled and farted around like in multiple buckets where you've actually got, I mean, you may not be an expert in all, but you get to know things very broadly, which is very, very cool.
That's very fortunate. Very fortunate.
I feel like expertise there, like
seriously, that's pretty incredible,
right?
That's not normal. Not that I can think. I'm trying to think of most of the men or women I know, and
not typical for sure.
I don't think that's typical.
No, it's not typical, but there are some out there. Like I have various people I've worked with. an interesting guy, if you've never met him, and you might have met him, Kenny, in your retail travels, is a guy named Dino Bianco, who I worked with at Kraft and now is the CEO of Kruger.
Right.
He had a similar path, finance into marketing and sales, and I've always kind of looked up to him and his path, because it was at Kraft where they kind of said, hey, do you want to move out of finance into marketing? And in that organization, I was able to look at someone like Dino and say, well, here's a path that I could possibly follow.
Yeah.
And have always kind of, watched his career and stayed in touch with him and tried to model some of my moves off of what he's done, just because it worked so successfully.
I did well for himself too. So, I mean, what the hell,
Exactly.
right? It was not a bad one to model against. Reputation's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's all the right things.
Yeah. So they're out there. There's not many of us.
There's not many. There really isn't.
But there's a handful.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though. Like, I like that. I like the fact that if you're going to work for somebody in companies within the role you're in, it is really nice to work with someone who does have general ideas of how more than just one funnel sort of works, or one spoke. I mean, you're never going to know it all, and that's not your role anyway. I mean, you're there to make sure the ship don't hit the iceberg. Just let's get to where we want to go and do our thing. But it's pretty cool that you've had so much other experiences.
Yeah. It's definitely fortunate in that way, and I've had a lot of people along the way that have given me opportunities to move cross-functionally that I'm thankful for. I stay in touch with all these people, and anytime I move somewhere in my career or get a promotion, I have a list of people I reach out to every time, and I say, hey, thanks for that time when you gave me the opportunity to do XYZ, because it really helped me get to this next level.
Gets it going, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is there? Do you have any favorites in terms of fields? Like, so one that you love more than another?
You gravitate back toward.
Well, I'll tell you, this is going to sound funny. So as I was in finance and I was in marketing, I was kind of like, I will never go to sales. Like, I am not going to sales. I don't want to ever be considered a sales.
I don't want to be a sales guy.
And I went over there and I loved it. I love talking to customers and dealing with customers and dealing with salespeople. Like, I'm an extroverted person. I'm energized by people. And on the sales side, I mean, that's what it's all about. And, as I was the president and general manager of Clorox Canada for 4 years, someone along the way asked me, it was actually, I think it was an internal podcast at the time. They asked me, hey, if you couldn't have this gig and you had to go back to a function you've played in so many, what do you consider your home function now? Where would you go? And right away I said sales. And seriously? I stopped and I said, man, I can't believe I just said that. Like, I always said I wouldn't be a sales
Isn't
guy.
that funny?
But that's probably the function I would gravitate back towards the most, just because of the reasons I said a minute ago. I just really, really enjoyed my time in sales, leading a sales team. I enjoyed all my roles. Like, my wife always laughs. She says every role Mike has ever had has always been his favorite role.
That's the best role, right? And
every category has always been his favorite category. But truly, if I had to pick, I mean, I think sales would be my natural habitat after going through it.
Oh, interesting. Wow. That's
pretty cool. So how long have you been with Jamieson now, Mike?
3.5 years. Came over in October of 2018.
And when you were leaving, so your last sort of, because Clorox was, I mean, most people when they think Clorox, I mean, especially if you're a little older, you're gonna think bleach, cleaners, and a lot of people just don't realize. And credit to Clorox because they came in a little later into the acquiring of natural health. So they learned from previous people how not to screw up companies. Like, just when you don't know shit about them, don't meddle. Let their people do it so that, it maintains that integrity. But were you, because you were in charge of the entire company, did you gravitate more toward the healthier or the natural sort of side? And that's what sort of drives it? I'm just curious because that's such a diverse company. You got different, different buckets. Like, they're not even related.
You're walking from a meeting talking about charcoal to the next meeting you're talking about lip balm, to the next meeting garbage bags, to cleaning products, and like Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing.
Right.
I mean, you've got everything and anything you can think of in there. I didn't gravitate to one or the other. I did start gravitating towards health and wellness, but it wasn't towards the end of my time there. I left in 2018. We made our first we made the acquisition at about Burt's Bees in 2007, just before I got there. Yeah. and I got to be the general manager of Burt's Bees Canada, and it was a fantastic role. I mean, I absolutely loved every day in that role, because it was like this little brand that people just have such a passion
And everybody
for,
wanted
especially
it.
out west.
Every
And
retailer
everyone
wanted it.
Everyone wanted it. Everyone was willing to try things and try some, experiment with different products. So that was a cool brand, and that kind of got me flowing on the health and wellness side. But it was such a small part of the business. And then in 2016, they started acquiring vitamin brands, and like I said, I got to play in that quite a bit on the internet in Canada, but also internationally. I learned a lot about the business around the world, and that, those last couple of years, it just really started to trigger in me that, wow, this would be a really cool category to work on full time. And I, my wife and I were Canadian, like born and raised in Canada. The next step for me in a company like a Clorox would have been to move to the US. And we had small kids. We were kind of like, I don't really know if if we're ready to move.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate that here in Canada, we have an amazing industry of health and wellness brands and vitamin mineral supplement companies. We're kind of a real beacon for it around the world. And, we're fortunate. And, I got a call from the previous CEO, Mark Hornick, over at Jamieson, who I got to know in the industry, and just said, Hey, love to talk to you about a possible rollover here. I think you could fit a need we have. And that's really where the ball started rolling. And, I had this opportunity to move over in a leadership position in a Canadian headquartered company doing business in almost 50 countries around the world, full-time in health and wellness. And I loved Clorox. I mean, Clorox was a fantastic place. I still speak very highly of that company. But to have that opportunity come and work out was it was amazing. And it's probably the best door I've ever walked through from a career perspective, and have loved every minute of it. And working with this team that's built this company here in Canada is it's an honor, but it's also humbling and a little bit overwhelming some days, the amount of talent in this company that's building vitamin, minerals, and supplements category in these brands around the world. It's pretty
That's
awesome.
100 this year, right? 1922.
It turned 100 years old. Yeah.
100.
100 years old this year as the year turned.
Yeah.
And we're 1,000 employees across Canada now. We've doing business in almost 50 countries, 3 manufacturing facilities. It's an incredible Canadian success story that up until the last couple of years, I don't think we were talking about it enough. I think we were living in our shadow, under our own shadow a little bit, and we've started to come out from under it now and say, hold on a second.
It's a typical Canadian thing, right?
Yeah.
We're also privately owned too. At that time's a different world, but it was a typical Canadian thing, right? You do good things, you do them well. That means we just don't talk about it.
That's right.
Right, because we, heaven forbid, as Canadians, we should ever say that we do something well, because that's our neighbors of the South do that. We just quietly do it, and it is funny. But I remember even in the category, outside of a few majors in the States who did a lot of advertising, you guys were the first one that really came out with the essentials ads and stuff like that, which made it really simple for consumers. This is not, and we're all clear, we're not pushing Jamieson on the show today.
No,
it's just because I worked in my first gig when I went to be a buyer. Vitamins was my first desk. And OTC, and I've done 2 or 3 vitamin companies since I left London. Like, I end up always back in this space too, and I don't know what it is. I just, like, if I talk to Amelia and tell her, like, she'd be like, she goes, who gives a shit? Vitamin A, B, C, whatever. No interest. Right? It's my wife, like, no interest. And I just love, I don't know what it is. It's just fun to fart around in this category. Like, it's just cool. And you see people take things and, they buy into it and they're all excited and they feel good. And
there's something about it, though. There's something about, like, having worked, fun fact, actually, the one regret I have in my corporate life is I never worked for a Canadian headquartered company. I've never, like, I've been through lots of CPG brands, but I've never worked for one that's Canadian owned. Really? All of them have been American. But, like, I think one of the things about healthcare that I love the most is like, in every consumable category for a CPG, there's a tiny little, kind of voice in your head that goes, I am trying to get a consumer to buy as much of my product as I possibly can. And there's a little bit of, like, maybe they don't need that much, right? Like, but
whatever.
I can figure this out, right? I can get them, if I do this right, I can get them to buy more, right? But in healthcare, there is there's a slightly different mantra that really makes a difference, right? Which is, yes, I'm going to get them to buy, but I'm also thinking about, like, truly I have their health in mind, which is a little bit different than, all the other categories where it's like, hey, you can consume as much of our product as possible and we'll sell you as many as you want, right? But I that's attractive to me because I think that's where I am now, like trying to balance out a little bit of like being environmentally friendly is now you start to, I kind of go and look at it and go, like healthcare means I can help people, right? Like I can help people and push them a product that truly helps, but not drive a ton of consumption.
Yeah, and you feel good about everything you sell because you're having a positive impact on people. And what's interesting about vitamins and minerals and supplements for the most part is it operates in the preventative health side of things, right? It's not a reactionary thing where, hey, I have an ailment, I'm going to take this and feel better in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It's preventative and long term. And what's interesting about the category, and I talk about this often, is a lot of categories are trial and repeat, right? I try it, it tastes good or it tastes bad. I'm either going to buy it again or I'm not.
Right.
In this world, you've got to convince a consumer to get into the category because somehow something has tweaked their mind to say, I believe in the category.
Right.
I believe that I need this product. But for it to really work, they have to take it for some time, like 3-4 months, and they start to feel this health benefit. And that belief now gets stronger. And now they start to go, well, hold on a second. I feel better. I haven't been sick in 3 or 4 months. I haven't had a cold. My joints feel better. My hair's thicker, whatever product they're taking. And from there, they start to expand out to other categories because you're building a tangible belief in their mind because the product's working and they've committed to it. And that it's a really different category from that perspective because you can't get an immediate reaction on it.
No, you really got to get someone who's committed to it.
Yeah.
That's why it's always a hard category for that. So like, for glucosamine, you're not going to feel any symptomatic relief literally for 3-4 months. It's just not going to happen. And you won't get the relief that you will by taking an Advil or a Tylenol. I'm sorry. That's the reality of it. But the negative consequences of the Tylenol and Advil way outweigh any negative consequences with the glucosamine. Do you know what I mean? And you're trying to get people to understand that this is, you can still take the other stuff for, temporary, there's small times where you worked out too hard or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the long-term use of that stuff is really not good for you. It really isn't.
Yeah, I think the two categories just play different roles in consumers' lives.
Yeah.
But it's good to see people are getting more excited about the one we're in. Like,
well, yeah, it's this trend on. There's this global mega trend on health and wellness, which we all know about, but underneath that, this trend of self-care and preventative care and getting ahead of problems rather than waiting for problems to happen. And, I think COVID has really accelerated that trend as people really said, hold on a second here. I can really boost my immune system to fight things off, including colds and flus. Yeah. And it's just taken a trend that was really growing pre-COVID and really just kind of accelerated at a different level. And it's been really interesting to see that play out.
So obviously, because you're in the category and we're in the category too. So we all know that like COVID really did give a bunch of the subsets a real push. Right. And again, without no trade secrets and stuff like that. But are you finding this momentum? Because you've alluded to it just now, but are you finding the momentum? I mean, we're all tailing back a little bit because,
the momentum,
the bug's not there, but people are still stoked.
Momentum's not going away. And the way we talk about it often is at a category level, like forget Jamieson, we're right there with it and outpacing most companies' growth. But from a category perspective, we truly are operating off of a new consumer baseline. And people for the last 2 years have challenged that hypothesis and said, no way, at some point it's got to fall back. But we're 2 years into this. Mm-hmm. And you saw a couple phenomenons happen within kind of that purchase cycle or that algorithm of how the category works, right? Like talked about a minute ago, you got to bring the consumer in. You got to something has to trigger to say, I'm willing to make this purchase and try this and believe in this. To get a consumer to stick in the category long term, we know this over our decades of history here and insights that we have here. You've got to get a consumer to take the product for 3 to 4 months. Once they take it, they start for 3 to 4 months. Two things happen. They build that habitual routine in their lives, and they start to feel the positive health benefit of the product. We've all been there. We all started taking products, and in 3-4 months, you start to feel it. At that point, you have a very high likelihood of them sticking in the category for the long term. And from there, they start to trade over and add other subcategories to their daily habits. That cycle takes a long time, right? That's usually a couple of years, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
What you had in COVID was you had the most amount of new consumers ever enter the category at any given time, ever. And you had pre-COVID consumers expand their usage to multi-categories really quickly.
Right.
They started to embed these habits into their daily lives, not for 3 to 4 months, but for 2 years. It's embedded in their category, in their daily consumption and habits over 2 years. The new consumers within that 2 years have already expanded out to multiple categories. So we're very confident that we're operating off of a new baseline of consumers now, and the momentum that we've seen, and the momentum you referred to there, Ken, is it was great through COVID. We're on a new baseline now. We're probably going to go back to historical growth rates, but those historical growth rates were excellent as well because it was on trend.
Yeah.
And there's been no indicator that will slow down. So we're excited about it. I think everyone in the category is. We speak with many, research houses and data companies and industry experts. Everyone and everyone's numbers are pointing to that trend.
Along those lines, I guess the curious thing for me is it's a funny topic. Kenny and I have been talking about it almost all day, I think, is you start to look at coming out of the pandemic is one thing, but then we kind of live in a climate that's a little scary at the moment with all the world news going on, and then all the other world news around interest rates and inflation and things like that. Do you are you worried for the industry at all, in terms of, because this is a, like, 2 years. I think the way you framed it is interesting, right? Because 2 years into this, it may be embedded in a consumer's purchase cycle now that this isn't a luxury purchase. This is an essential thing that I need to buy. Or do you think somewhere along the way this, is a consumer going to give up some of this? I mean, significantly. We know everyone's going to give up something along the way, but
history through economic downturns would tell us no.
Okay.
And I think I actually answered this question the other day. We were doing some investor relations work, and an investor asked this, and what I said is, in the world of consumer goods, as you guys know, there's different buckets of where consumer goods falls.
Yeah.
And vitamins, minerals, and supplements does not fall in that bucket of discretionary spend categories. As you said, Phil, it's built into your daily health and wellness. You believe in this. Like this is impacting your life. It's having a positive impact on you. And when you go down the decision tree of what you're going to cut in a high cost environment or in a highly volatile environment, cutting your vitamins or your health products is at the bottom of that decision list or that decision tree. Right. You're going to cut many other things before you get to this category, or you're going to change to a more value of a brand or a control label brand much sooner than you will in a category like this. So is it 100% insulated? I mean, I probably not. I don't think anything
nobody is.
But history would tell us that you're so far down that decision tree or that choice tree that a consumer makes, that we haven't really seen big impacts in this category through financially volatile times.
I think it's probably going to be, I mean, because we've talked about this a lot lately. I think what happens is to your point, I think people, first off, when you're in the category and you're using it and you're believing it, it's medicine, right? And for sure, in tough times, and if you're economically pinched, because we all probably have examples, people that will stretch medicine, et cetera, but they don't ever go off it. You get off Coca-Cola, you can get off white bread, you can stop eating pasta, whatever, I don't care, whatever food, you can stop doing it. You can stop maybe going to 12 movies a week, ordering in, but you don't stop your medicine. You may stretch it, or to your point, you may say, okay, listen, you know what? I can't buy the 100 count vitamin C from those guys anymore. I got to go to Costco with the 360. It's a little more, but penny per tab, I can stretch this up because I don't want to leave this, but I got to get a better value proposition now than maybe I did before. Before, 100 is all I want. I want to go through my field of fresher, all whatever perceptions I have. Now I might say, maybe now I got to stretch it just a little longer. but I don't think they're going to exit.
Or I might go to the dollar channel and buy a 10 count or 15 count if I'm managing cash, right?
Yeah.
So you've got all
Right.
kinds of different channel choices you can make. And when you really think of the grand scheme of like a bottle of vitamin C, like you just mentioned, Kenny, like the cost of vitamin C on a daily basis over the course of a month, you're talking pennies. I
It's
mean, you're
peanuts.
talking 10, 15 bucks for a bottle
Right.
that's going to
Yeah.
last you a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not a high cost product when
Yeah.
you look at it on a daily
Right.
consumption basis.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what it's like, because Phil and I have been talking about it. It's going to be like everything, right? And I think this is why you're probably right, where a control label or a value proposition is where they're probably going to go, because I don't think they're going to exit en masse. I know categories where people are going to exit. We all know categories where they're going to exit.
Yeah.
But I also know
100%,
categories like
right?
coffee. Nobody's going to exit coffee. They may exit Kicking Horse. They may exit an Ethical Bean, not to pick on those two. And maybe, Folgers is going to be the king again, heaven forbid.
Well, we hope people
But
don't, because the world gets grouchier if we start exiting.
Well,
coffee.
if I start
It's
drinking
just a
shitty
bad
coffee,
thing.
I'm going to be more miserable than I normally
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
So we already know that. So I ain't going to get off that bandwagon. That's my medicine. But you know what I
Wow.
mean? You'll just find alternatives, I guess, that
Yeah, I think
Make
the
some sense.
category matters, and I think
I think you're right.
to look at where you'll see trading, you have to look at the categories that are over indexed or highly indexed on control label. What
Right.
categories does control label hold a 40, 50, 60 share,
Yeah.
35 share? And in those categories, you'll see a higher percentage of trade down in price than you will in vitamin,
Exit.
minerals, and supplements where
Yeah.
control labels, it's a single digit share position.
Right.
Because people want to buy things that are branded.
Yeah.
They want things they trust and they know,
Yeah.
and they're okay to pay more for something that is higher quality or is a higher quality manufactured product. So I think the way to look at where will you see the most trade off and trade down will be what categories have the highest index of control label holding a piece of share.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's
It
interesting.
feels. I guess the other one I laugh about, one of the other brands that I've worked with is in pet. Pet's the other one that seems very recession proof, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
Pet is
you know,
completely
you could
insulated.
starve, but
the
the
kids are
dog-
going to
That-
starve.
That
before their head will.
that consumer consumption decision
Yeah.
on that decision tree I talk about, that
Yeah.
Pet's even lower than vitamins. I mean, Pet's like
Oh,
as low as
absolutely,
it
man.
gets.
I tell you right, the kids will go without diapers before the pet starves.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
That's the mentality.
It's-
The
it's,
pets ain't going to lose anything.
Oh,
If anything,
I'll
they
tell
get
ya.
more.
I get it now. I've been a non-pet guy my entire life. And
Yeah.
2 years ago, my daughter and my son and my wife convinced me it was time to get a cat. Now they're trying to get a dog, but at the time it was a cat. And I fought it and I fought it and fought it. And we have this beautiful cat now. And I'm with her all the time. Like she's usually on my desk, like she's with me all the
Yeah.
time. And
yeah.
anything for her, like anything. So I get it. I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, family's
It's-
loving
it's
that
cr-
now. Eh?
It's crazy to
That's
say
hilarious.
it, but
It's
I
it's
never
true.
understood it until we had a pet, and
Yeah.
now I
Yeah.
get it. Now I get it.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What switching gears a little, what do you see coming in healthcare? We've definitely ramped up, taking care of ourselves in terms of immunity and looking
Yeah.
after things with
Yep.
with COVID and all of those things, kind of coming through. Do you see certain trends coming? Again, no
Yeah.
trade secrets,
No
but
trade
anything,
secrets.
yeah.
So I these aren't trade secrets; they're category
Yeah.
stories. I think
Yeah.
there's two trends that they were going before COVID, but they've really accelerated through COVID, and I think they're here for the long term. And I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in these categories over the next 5 years. The first is this notion of beauty from within, right? Like the collagens, the biotins, you name the different ingredients. That
Yeah.
that just really went to another level through COVID as people were home and just looked and thought about beauty differently and more from a healthier lifestyle perspective than a visual perspective or a shallower perspective.
Yeah.
And I really think that is here to stay. And I think we're going to continue to see a strong trend there. Where I think we're really starting to see some movement. And this is outside of like formats and flavors and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just talking health benefits. This whole notion of stress relief, mental acuity, and quite frankly, I think mental health, in the longer term is really going to come to life in this category. I mean, vitamins, minerals, and supplements for decades has dealt with physical health ailments. People are struggling mentally now, and you're really seeing a trend to any product that deals with mental acuity, mental stress relief, sleep.
Stress
And
and
I don't think
focus
focus, sleep, stress, like
yeah.
I don't think that's going away. And I think we're going to just continue to see innovation and a push for more products in that space. And I think we're at the early stages of where that category could go.
I think you're probably right. I remember when I started buying in 2000, like it was always the
2000.
same.
That's so long ago, Kenny.
I know. Tell me
Oh my
about it.
God.
Yeah, well, he's been he's telling me he's been a CPG 25 years. I've been in retail 40. So I don't know.
23. I said 23. 23.
Okay, whatever. My God.
Don't age me.
Jesus. How can I? I was trying to. I can't. It won't work. You're younger than Phil, for Christ's sakes.
2099 was my first job.
Jesus Christ, like seriously. Anyway, we're not going to talk about age no more.
Yeah,
on this
Mike,
one.
you can come on anytime you want.
Anytime.
It's all good.
But I remember the time, like, even for years after, like 15 years into the category, anything to do with, the brain, like the ginkgo, really, really small, very grassroots, could never catch. And then, we finally, as a society, start talking about mental health with friends, and friends would share their problem. And it became, it's still not where it should be, but it's gotten way better. So I think to your point is, and this is sort of, I'm waiting for the next batch of Jamieson commercials and the other commercials where you guys will start to go out and start talking about that. Sort of what's her name? Amy Farrah Fowler, I can't remember her name, from Big Bang. She's doing a vitamin on.
Oh, Maya.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's starting, because I think, to your point, the mental health, the challenges we went, like COVID's been a bitch. Like it's been really stressing on all of us. Sleep, like, it's been weird. Like,
and those categories have gone way up because of it. I mean, early days of COVID was immunity, but as COVID continued, sleep, stress, sleep aids, stress, like
absolutely,
those categories really started to take off. And I think there's two things. I think one, the world is totally stressed out because of COVID and everything else that you referred to earlier, Phil. I mean, the world's
for sure
got so much volatility in it.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the fact that mental health is now something that's not taboo, or as taboo to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
And those two things are bringing to light these consumer needs that I think the vitamin mineral supplement category is going to continue to innovate in. And I think it's here for the long term.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's really it's nice to see too, right? You think of how many people out there are dealing with anxiety over the things that we have, being able to give them something that helps with that, right? That doesn't end with a IUM and isn't addictive.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah. And what's interesting is it doesn't even have to be extremely innovative. We can get there through some of the categories we have, like sleep aids. Like, you get better sleep, you're in a better mental state.
Yeah.
Digestive health, right? You take care of your digestive health. You're going to be it's going to impact your mental state. You take care of your cardiovascular system and your heart health. That has an impact on blood flow and on your head. So, and your mental state. So it doesn't even have to all be new product innovation. I think it's also how we talk about products.
Right? Yeah.
So how do you do that though? Because in the old, like when I was in the category, really you had print and TV was limited. Print was obviously a lot. Typically, where would you find most of your health things up front? You'd go see a doctor. Well, most doctors had like 25, 30 minutes of vitamin time in the 7 or 8 years they went to university. The next person you go to is pharmacist, because they actually knew shit. They know stuff. But your pharmacist is tough to get to because they're, it's.
And so they're tough, right? Like, they're tough on vitamins. They're tough on.
Well, a lot of the answers are always the same. Like, it's not going to hurt you, right? And you're thinking, well, that's not like a resounding, take it because you'll feel better. Well, if you take calcium, it won't hurt you.
Yeah, your arm won't fall off if you take it.
I appreciate that. I'm hoping most of the stuff in the store does that too. But so where do you go with that, Mike? Like, how do you do this then? Like, how do you get to people?
Well, I think there's two things going on right now. One is COVID really has given an opportunity for the medical community to get more behind vitamins and minerals and supplements than ever before, and mostly because of vitamin D, right? Vitamin D has had
Yeah.
like does like 65, 70 studies around the world on COVID in terms of its effectiveness in boosting immune systems and fighting off things like colds and flus, but COVID directly related to COVID, studying what has the impact been of vitamin D. And there's been various studies out there. There's all different positive results that has an impact on your immune system. I think that, we're seeing for the most time, anecdotally, for the most times ever, we're hearing people say, oh, my doctor told me I should start taking vitamin D because of ABC or this study or something that they've come across. So I think, and I also think it's becoming so embedded in the minds and the lives of consumers that now consumers are going to their doctors and talking about vitamins and minerals and supplements much more, that doctors are, or the medical community, I should say, is getting more up to speed and educated on it and starting to talk about them at a different level than maybe they did 5, 10, 15 years ago. So I think that is a benefit for the category. But the second one is everyone has information at their fingertips, and you can look up anything digitally. And it's on companies like Jamieson and the market leading companies out there to provide consumers with really solid science-based education and give them a place to go where they can learn and research and understand, what should I take? Why should I take it? How's it going to benefit me? And I actually think the category right now has the biggest opportunity it's ever had in educating consumers, because everyone gets their information digitally. You can access everyone. We actually have doubled down and invested more heavily in our education and training team than we ever have. Really? Because they have all these tools on at their fingertips now. They can do webinars and get 1,000 people to call in. Yeah. They can do education sessions, whereas before they were educating retailers and store staff or floor staff in like health food stores. We're still doing that. Yeah. But now we're also able to take those people and say, you know what, you're going to educate consumers too. And in the strategy of which their department is built, it's not just retailers anymore, it's retailers, it's consumers, and it's team members from inside that then can become ambassadors of the brand. So we've never been at a better point as a category to give consumers access to information, education on the benefits.
Right. Pretty awesome.
I guess the trick is really just to make sure the consumers are getting the right information, because as we've all learned in the last 2 years, especially with COVID, and a few key people in this world who fueled fires that didn't need to be fueled, is how do you find the right information? So then it becomes incumbent on you and the other players in the category, probably to do some working together to some degree, but getting the information because my age is a little different. There's still more trust in a company than it is in my kids' age. My kids are in their mid-20s. Yeah. Like if I told them, you would learn about vitamins, go to Jamieson's webpage. You look at me, Jamieson, why would I go to them? That's a company. What else are they going to tell me, Dad? And they go, oh, okay, well, you're right. Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So where are you going to go, guys?
It's got to be organic. It's got to be category level information. And to that point, I mean, you talk about some of the growth opportunities in the category. We're also seeing this amazing kind of double trend, I call it, that, it's exciting for the category. The category typically grows as people age, right? As you turn into your mid 40s, 50s, 60s, you really start getting into the world of supplementation, vitamins. You start to, see the end and you go, I've got to get healthier here. Yeah. But what we're seeing in the category globally, and we're in almost 50 countries around the world, is you're seeing the aging population adopt the category at high rates, like it typically did, even higher rates than ever, because people want to stay younger. And the new 70-year-old now is like a 50-year-old 25 years ago. So they're taking more than ever. But also the younger generations are getting into the category way earlier. And they're not just getting in with the trendy brands, they're getting in with the brands like Jamieson. We've seen the most amount of young consumers enter a historical trusted brand like Jamieson in the last 2 years than ever.
That's fantastic.
So they're getting fully embedded in the category. Yeah. So you got both ends of the spectrum right now growing the category, the aging demographic and the younger generations getting in earlier. And then you got guys like me who I go, man, like my generation, we're the unhealthy guy, or the unhealthy generation in the middle. So it's really interesting to see some of those data points.
Interesting. So what? And again, you share what you can share, right? But because I'm going to make an assumption. Like I'm assuming that a lot of the young kids, let's say if they're in their mid 20s, early 30s, I can't call them kids anymore, I guess. Well, they're my kids, so I can call them my kids. At that age, are they gravitating to the old school, B, C, calcium, or are they into some of the new funky stuff? Are they trying more of whatever you guys are compounding, or if you're labeling stuff for stress or brain, etc.? Like, what's getting these people excited?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the last couple of years, immunity has definitely entered their lives, and we've seen a shift as well in the last 2 years to brands that consumers know and trust, and they've come at all ages to brands like Jamieson. We're not the only one, but
right,
like the foundational health brands that they know and trust and grew up with, they've come to in this time, and they'll stay with the category and the brands long term. But one like, I'll give you a great example. One of the things that has drawn a newer consumer in is this beauty from within category I talk about.
right.
Like, you look at like we have the Smart Solutions brand by Lorna Vanderhaeg. It was named Lorna Vanderhaeg for the last 20 years. It's now Smart Solutions Lorna Vanderhaeg, as we've taken that brand over. And that's a great brand that we have that was based on hormonal health. And most women, a women's brand, would get into it, sometime in their mid 40s, maybe a little later, get into more of a hormonal support regimen and vitamins, minerals, and supplements. As that brand innovated into beauty from within and things like collagen, it brought in a younger demographic than it ever had in it before. So I think they're grabbing onto a couple of things. I think there's some foundational health categories that they grab onto, but then some of these new things like sleep, stress, beauty from within, things that matter no matter your age, right? It's not joint pain that I have, but I have trouble sleeping, whether I'm a 25, 30-year-old stressed out or I'm a 50-year-old stressed out. So I think that's where we're seeing the entry points, where there's where the commonalities are there no matter your age.
I heard a 27-year-old tell my nephew's 27, and his friend told him, yeah, I gotta go take something for that, because I don't want to wake up in my 30s and have those kind of achy. And I was like, that is like, so when you're in your 40s, that's usually, the unhealthy 40s, right? Like, it is kind of where you go, oh, mortality rates go up in the 50s. I gotta fix all my crap now.
That's right.
Otherwise, I'm gonna die in the 50s, right? Like, but I've never heard a 27-year-old, right?
We never talked about it.
We never talked
about it. What you think about the notion of self-care and preventative care? If you enter the category in your 50s, you're in reactive mode at that point.
You got problems, right?
So this trend of proactive self-care, it's happening at a younger age, and it doesn't just happen in vitamins, minerals, supplements. They're eating healthier.
Well, I would say they're eating and drinking healthier. That's all of it, right? And because the choices are finally there too, right? I mean, we never had.
They're more
choices
active.
That we've ever had. Absolutely.
They're more active. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to see.
It's really good. Yeah.
Cool,
Mike, this has been awesome. We're so glad you were able to join us.
Oh no, it's been a pleasure.
Hopefully we didn't get any shit, like we didn't say any or ask anything.
No.
We'll find out when it airs. We'll be, oh my God.
Don't worry, I'm good at saying no comment if it goes there. So don't worry.
Well, I'm just gonna say it's Phil's fault. So if you want to go Phil's fault, you can do that too.
Okay, all right.
No, it was really nice. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really love this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
I think.
Are you coming out for the CHFA?
Yeah,
I am. Yeah, I'll be out there. I'll be out there most of the week. I think I'm coming in Monday or Tuesday. I'll be there till sometime late Friday. I can't stay for the weekend, but I'll be there. I think.
Okay, so we'll hopefully see you around I think we're going to be down there on the Friday.
Yep.
Doing stuff going maybe to the show. I don't think the show's on, but there's stuff going on.
Yeah, well, I will be on. I know he was a guest of yours. He's a friend of mine. I'll be at Ryan Ben is hosting with a live publishing, hosting a leadership summit. So I'll be there for a couple days.
Very cool.
And I did really enjoy your episode with Ryan. He's a really interesting guy.
Ryan's a pretty good shit, though, right? He's a good guy.
I'll tell you, I texted him right after I listened to it, and I said, I honestly can't believe it. I actually learned some things from you today.
That's what we said.
Phenomenal podcast.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known Ryan, off and on. I think, wow, actually, I didn't realize you were that smart.
I didn't realize he was that smart. I knew he was a smart guy, but he had some great insights in there about the publishing industry and the effectiveness that it in a category like this.
Yeah, I really like that. Actually.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Because
so maybe we'll try. He was good.
Yeah.
He's interesting. Well, maybe we'll try to catch up with you guys.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys at the show or something like that. Maybe
sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks Mike.
Again, Mike. Appreciate you coming on. Have a nice evening.
Yeah, you
Okay,
too.
go
You
to
need
sleep
anything,
now.
let me know. Have a
It's
good
late.
one.
Okay.
It's late. Go to bed now.
Thanks. Take care.
Take
Yeah,
care.
bye-bye.
Phil, hang
Bye.
on.
Yeah.
Ciao,
Bye-bye.
Mike. It's pretty cool though, right?
He's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it sounds stupid, because you know what? It's hard sometimes for me to see like these finance guys, and then they slide into, because you got two different sets of the brain working there, and then you do some sales, but they run these interesting companies that have I don't know. See, to me, like what? Because I mean, I could say, like, when you think Clorox, like in the old days, bleach and stuff, you think, okay, how much more basic can you get?
Yeah.
Then Clorox started expanding, buying all these companies, and
Yeah.
doing some really
Yeah.
funky stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're thinking, like, it's really cool to see these guys from the finance side dabble and do really well like that. He's a very interesting fellow. I really, that was
I like
quite
it. Like,
interesting.
we've talked about this before. We talked about it when Denise was on here, but like finance people also hold like much bigger picture, of what's happening. Like, not that when you're in sales you can hold the same sort of picture. In marketing you do, because you're also like in general management in a lot of ways, because you run a brand. But like the finance guys, they see everything, and they see cause and effect, right? And so
Think
I
of
do
internally,
think,
when we talk to our three
Yeah.
little friends there,
yeah,
is one in particular, the finance one, has a
Yeah.
whole different
She's-
outlook
yeah.
than all
Usually
of
we
them.
don't like her outlook, but
No,
yes.
because usually
yeah.
she doesn't get to us until it's miserable, but that's okay. God bless her. We still love her.
Yeah.
But
But
you know
I
what I
really
mean?
love
Like,
that. Like, yeah.
I
He's
always thoroughly enjoyed
he's a
that.
man of many talents, and then
Yeah, thoroughly
I
enjoyed
thought
that.
I thought he had some really good insights there.
So we got to try to find out what the hell Ryan Ben's doing. Maybe we should be going to this conference too. Like, I didn't. Did you get an invite?
This
I didn't get an
leadership
invite.
summer, no.
Anybody
No.
call? Anybody say, hey, you want to join us? I didn't get anything.
It is the end of March, so it's a little bit early, but if you're still with us, which nobody
usually is,
but if you are, we are going to be doing something. Kenny and I are going to be at CHFA, but the sneak, kind of is that we're going to be doing something at the show. So you kind of have to listen to the next couple of episodes to figure out what
That's
it is.
That's all you're going to tell them?
Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell them. We're doing something at the show. You got to listen. We need people to come back. So come back the next episode. We'll tell you a little bit more.
I mean, they don't come back just because they want to hear us. Like, they got to come by. They got to do this.
Yes. It's
Really?
hubris. I know. It's hubris that I dropped this tiny little hint at the
Yeah.
hour mark, and somebody's going to be listening to this. But
Yeah, and I'm feeling kind of sad that the only reason they're coming back is now they want to learn us. I thought they were coming back because they liked us.
Hey, we don't care why they come back.
No, you're
Let's
right.
be honest.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
True.
We just want them to come back, but we
Just
don't care
come
why
back.
they come back.
Yeah, we
So,
don't care. Just come back.
Yeah. But yeah, we're doing something at CHFA. Not just Kenny and Phil, but this Commerce Life is doing something at CHFA. And
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit more next time, and then a little bit more the time after that. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. Very cool, man.
That was a great podcast. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was a nice way to end the day for me.
Yeah, me too.
So,
That
yeah.
made my my day much
Yeah.
better than what it was. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy
Awesome.
boy.
Okay.
We shall chat with you probably tomorrow sometime. And thank you.
I'm going to
everybody, for
stop
listening.
thank you for listening. I'm going to stop I just want to show you one thing, and then
Okay.
we'll go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.